everybody.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Century. No, Happy New Decade. Okay, the talks during the month of January, we go back to the basics of science of mind. And I believe it's the groundwork and it sets the tone for the year. Each Sunday, we're going to deepen our understanding of the spiritual teachings that Ernest Holmes so beautifully put down in his books, and many books that he wrote, and particularly this thing called You, and his Science of Mind textbook. That's what we're going to really deepen into, well, this morning anyway. And do you remember, like, the first time you walked into a spiritual center? Maybe it was Joyful Gathering Spiritual Center. Maybe it was somewhere else. It was, I remember for me, the first time that I took a class, because the Sunday service thing didn't really do it for me at the time in 1992, but I signed up for a foundation class. So that first class that I took, I was really blown away because I found something I could resonate with. I found something that made sense. Nothing up until then had made sense, and that's why they didn't like me in Catholic school very much. I was the little kid and I had an English accent then that just annoyed the hell out of all the nuns. So it didn't really work out well, but I had questions. And finally, at about the age of 42, I found out these questions were me searching for the spiritual truth. So when I found Ernest Holmes, it blew my mind in such a good way. I was so excited. I just couldn't wait to get more, and I still can't wait. That's the beauty of it. It doesn't get stale. It doesn't get stale. So think about the first time that you really heard these teachings and how you felt. If you felt excited like I did. But right now, I want to go over just a couple of concepts really fast that are in this teaching that we have here. That is a way of life. I can't emphasize that enough. You must live them, and I'm going to go over that today. You really, if you want them to be effective, you must live them, and that's your choice. You can live them or not. But for individually, for each one of us, the more you use these principles and these spiritual truths that we teach here, the better your life becomes. That's all I can tell you. I have nothing else to tell you. But I do have these concepts to tell you. God is the source and supply of all my good. Remember when I heard that? When I heard about God as love and law, it took me months to figure out what law was. And then it took me years to really understand law. That's why when I'm teaching about the law of God, I get so excited. Because I kept thinking, first of all, in the beginning, that it was human law. And I'm like, what does that have to do with anything? You know, so the law, I'm thinking human law. Like lawyers, that kind of law. And this is so much more than that. And it's still deepening. The concept of it is still deepening. God is a loving, creative intelligence. That means the energy in me is the energy in the divine. We are one, each and every one of us. These are some of the concepts I learned. I connect with that energy through my consciousness. Through our awareness, we connect with the infinite potential of this universe offers all of the time. There is one power in this world, and I can use it. How about that? Talk about empowerment. And there is a powerful good in the universe, and it's ours to use. This really is an empowering teaching. And those were some of the ideas that we're going to look at this month. Ourselves, we're going to look at them throughout the month and really try to deepen even further into what they mean. And I want to set the tone for today and really for the month by reading a portion of the 50th anniversary of the Science of Mind textbook. This is the forward to it, and it was written by Dr. William Hornaday. He was a Christian, a former Christian and missionary. And he became Ernest Holmes' protege in later years. And now Ernest Holmes, finally, he didn't want to have a church. He had a learning institution, but he didn't want a church. He was kind of pressured into it. And right after he opened Founders Church in California, he passed away. He really didn't want that church. But Dr. William Hornaday took over as the lead minister, the pastor of Founders Church in California. So he wrote this. So I want us to really hear what he wrote about Ernest Holmes. During a period in my life when I was searching desperately for answers, I had an appointment to see Dr. Ernest Holmes at his Los Angeles office. I had never met him personally, but had attended his lectures, and his international reputation as a philosopher and spiritual teacher were well known to me. As the time for our appointment neared, I began feeling slightly apprehensive about meeting such an eminence. In his mind, he thought it was. When the secretary opened the door, I saw a smiling man come toward me. He was small in stature and casually dressed in sports clothes. He shook my hand and said, "You must be Bill. I'm Ernest." And Hornaday continues, "I will always treasure that first meeting because I immediately had a special feeling of complete rapport with him. We talked of many things, and our discussion was very frank concerning my personal activities, as well as my beliefs and feeling about life in general. Finally, he said, 'What I really want to know about are the results of your beliefs. Are you satisfied with the results? Where are you going in life?' After a moment, I said, 'I don't know.' He responded quickly, 'Something within you does. So together we're going to find out what that is.'" How exciting is that? That simple thought-provoking, this is still Hornaday, that simple thought-provoking statement caused me to ponder deeply, to begin the reassessing of my own values, and ultimately to initiate a spiritual search so rewarding that it has never ended. I have a little bit more. After our visit was over, he handed me a book and said, "I believe you will find this helpful." And the book he gave me was The Science of Mind. It is a text of a practical spiritual approach to life, which Dr. Holmes has described as being a correlation of the laws of science, opinions of philosophy, and revelations of religion. The result of his many years of study and research. It combines the wisdom of ages. This is the book that we base our foundation class on. It is so incredibly powerful. That class is the class that I would really, it changed my life, and I know it's changed the lives of anyone that has taken that class. Really deepening into, this is me speaking, not Hornaday, really deepening into the creative process and how it works. That's where the law comes in. Back to Hornaday. Here in one book was what I had been looking for. It was a practical understanding, spiritual philosophy, spiritual philosophy, and it was to present me with the answers for which I had spent a lifetime searching for. As a minister and a teacher, Dr. Holmes philosophy since 1951, I know that as you read this book and apply the principles it describes, you too will find answers and practical solutions to life's challenges. And I believe this will lead to the fulfillment of your innermost desires. Isn't that a wonderful statement? Mm-hmm. I love that statement. And that's a really bold statement, but Ernest Holmes was known to say, don't believe me, prove it to yourself. Prove it, use this stuff, see if it works. If it works, keep it. If it doesn't, oh well, I know it works. I've worked it, so I know that it works. For me, it works, and I know it does for many people here in these seats who use it all the time. It is exactly what these teachings have done for me and a lot of you. The principles of these teachings, the ones that we just set forth, are absolutely life-transforming. If, and we say, if what? Because there's a part to this. Because it sounds really great when you're reading it. But it is contained in that sentence, the if, of what I just read. We can read all the diet and exercise books that we want in the world. And it's the new year, people do these things, I don't know why, but they do it on the 1st of January. And they read them, and they're good for a week. But we need to take the action, and that's the same with these spiritual principles. We have to use them. When life looks so rough and tough, and upside down and inside out, are we using our spiritual principles to get us through that, to make the choices that then manifest the results, the outcome that we really want to live? And they say, if you want to know what you're truly believing, look at what's taking place in your life. Really look at that. It'll tell you a lot. Nothing will change unless we apply what we are reading into our thinking and into our actions. We have to really embody it. Really embody it. Or as the wonderful New Thought leader, minister, who just passed away a couple of years now ago, Reverend Johnny Coleman, she was amazing. She had a temple. I want a temple. Don't you want a temple? I would love to have a temple. Did you go to the temple today? Anyway, this is what she said. She said, this stuff works if you work it. She also said, if you know it, show it. Isn't that good? If you know it, you really know it, show it. Start really walking the talk. But it's more than just knowing these principles in your head. It's bringing them into your heart and making them a part of who you are. And that's when we learn to use them in our everyday thinking, our everyday decisions. But it is more than just knowing them. In one of my favorite books by Ernest Holmes, This Thing Called You, I think we have some outside for sale. This Thing Called You, if you don't own it, you should own it. Because, I mean, that book is just so amazing. He writes this: the greatest gift life could have made to you is yourself. You are a spontaneous, self-choosing center in life, in the great drama of being, the joy of becoming, the certainty of eternal expansion. You could not ask for more, and more could not have been given. We have within us this infinite potential that no one ever told us about. That we are these brilliant, creative beings, each and every one of us. That's why this teaching is so empowering. And nobody teaches that to children. Almost nobody. I know Ginger teaches that to her children. And that's why it's so empowering. So life, this is from Ernest Holmes too. Life will be to you what you are to it. Of necessity, there is a divine pattern at the center of everything. This is the divine in you, waiting your recognition. Somehow, you must link your will, your thought, your intellect, your imagination, and your feeling with the divine presence within, which is already there. Everything that we want and desire is already there. We keep looking for it outside. It's already there. That's the biggest truth that for myself, that I'm still working on. It's already there. And when we let go and let God, when we step back and surrender, we just see it. When we're put in situations that look very dire, that we have no idea how it's going to happen. It's the most amazing thing to watch the universe just fill in the spaces, because that's what it does. Once we get out of the way, and sometimes we really got to get smacked to get out of the way. Hate to use that word, but for me, that's what really, I mean, I'll just stay forever and went, boom, got my attention, right? Got my attention, and then prove it to yourself. Watch with trust how the universe provides these infinite possibilities. Okay, so in this thing called you, Holmes writes, if God created you after his own nature, and there is nothing else that he could have created you out of, then the thing you are after is already here within you. The only thing that stands between you and it are the accumulated thoughts, beliefs, and emotions of the ages. But there is nothing there that has not been put there by either yourself or by humankind. What has been put there can be removed. Isn't that good news?
Oh, yeah.
It can be removed. Who would have thought? We actually do have free will. And I want to illustrate this. By taking you on a little imaginary journey. Because we all love imaginary journeys. You know that the law responds to our imagination the same way that it responds to actual, what we call facts in our lives. It responds the same way, whether we're imagining it or we're actually going through it in our everyday experience. It's still going to respond. So we're going to go on this imaginary journey. Are you down for that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, let's do it then. Okay, so let's take a deep breath and just sit back in your seat. You can close your eyes. Imagine, if you will, a most brilliant gemstone. Let whatever stone comes to mind come to mind. Perhaps it's a brilliant emerald, a rich red ruby, a clear, sparkling diamond, a deep blue sapphire. Let an image of an exquisite gemstone come into your conscious awareness right now. Just think about it. See it in all of its fullness. Notice its shape, its size. See it from all sides. And let the light shine on it and bask in its beauty and vibrancy. Each time you look at it from a different angle, it gets more and more beautiful. And you are in awe at the wonder of Spirit, who created such a magnificent gem. Simply spend a few moments drinking in its splendor. Now I want you to imagine that your beautiful gemstone is placed by the side of the road. There it sits, innocent and beautiful. And then cars start zooming by. And there happens to be a mud puddle near where your gemstone is sitting. And when a car zooms by, it splashes mud all over the stone. Then a little wind whips up, and between it and all of the cars whizzing by, the debris near the road, such as grass, leaves, trash, is all stirred up around the stone. and attach onto the mud covering the stone. And this keeps happening. Mud is tossed up, debris affixes itself over and over until there is nothing of the gemstone to be seen. And then somebody walks up and sees this mass of mud and debris and thinks, that isn't very attractive at the side of the road. I think I will paint it to make it more beautiful. So this person pulls out some filler putty, some colorful paint, some shellac, and begins to smooth out and cover up the mud and debris. Soon, sitting next to the road is what looks like an attractive piece of art, all shiny and nice. Now take a deep breath in and gently bring your attention back into this room and open your eyes when you are ready. We, my friends, are that brilliant gemstone, that shining, beautiful gemstone, covered with a shell of false beliefs, covered with these false beliefs, lots of debris, that we are covered up with a pretty facade. And while the facade is really nice, it is nothing compared to the exquisite gemstone that is within each and every one of us. That gemstone, that brilliance, that clarity is in each and every one of us. Our task then is to chisel away the outer layer and discover our true essence once again. So let me say the Holmes quote from this thing called You again, with that image. If God created you after his own nature, and there is nothing else that he could have created you out of, then the thing you are after is already here, within you. The only thing that stands between you and it are the accumulated thoughts, beliefs, emotions of the ages. But there is nothing there that has not been put there either by yourself or humankind. What has been put there can be removed. The gemstone is the God stuff. The God stuff, of which each and every one of us has been made out of. The dirt and the grime, even the coats of paint, are what our parents, our churches, our schools, humankind, our ancestors, all of that had been placed upon us to cover up the brilliance of who we truly are. It is our spiritual work then, this is our spiritual work, is to then remove the false covering. It's not the truth of who we are. We're these brilliant, shiny gemstones. Isn't that great? This is wonderful. Keep that image. As Meister Eckhart, 12th century mystic, wisely pointed out, the spiritual life is not so much a process of addition, but rather of subtraction. Remove. That doesn't serve. We do have this power. We do have choice. We say we have free will. Are you using it? We can remove those limiting thoughts, little by little. Just like that stone got covered up, little by little. Let's set about subtracting some of our old beliefs and judgments that cover over our brilliant light, the light that is us. This is a really effective way to release limiting thoughts of dirt and grime that keep us so heavily burdened with thoughts of a brilliant gemstone, Isn't that great? You're a gemstone. I'm a gemstone. I love that. Pick the one you want. Pick them all. I was writing this. I'm trying to figure one. And it's like, I like them all. Right? One on every finger. Let us work to wash away those judgments, resentments, old ways of thinking that cover our true essence. We are, and I can't say it enough, we are brilliant gemstones. We sometimes have to remind ourselves of this, though. We forget, because we've been taught so much that has covered up that gemstone. We were never taught we were brilliant beings of light. We do this spiritual work to remind ourselves of the brilliance that we are, of the powerful beings that we are, of the beautiful creation of light that we are. Maybe some of the affirmation you can use is, I accept and love myself just the way I am. I let go and let God. I am one with all. I see God in everyone and everywhere I go. This is the beginning of recognizing that divine pattern that exists inside and within each and every one of us. We have been created out of that divine nature of God. Because I am made out of God's stuff, I have the power of creation, each and every one of us. We create our lives. Remember that. We create our lives. And if stuff happens that we don't want to happen and we say, I didn't create that, so what? How are you going to respond to it? That's the gift. All right, it is what it is. All right, we're in the isness of it. It is what it is. It happened. I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know how I created it. But how can I respond to it? That I can do. That each and every one of us can do. We are powerful creators of our own lives. So in conclusion, this morning, Holmes gave us beautiful counsel on how to live from our gemstone nature. And this counsel is an excellent way to wash whatever may be covering you. And I'd like to end with this quote by Ernest Holmes. He wrote this. That's why I love him. I know that the Spirit is right where you are. It is the very essence of your being. It is at the center as well as the circumference of your life. Learn to sense this divine presence in every thought and act. Let the warmth and color of this presence permeate your entire consciousness. Let your thought be filled with the atmosphere of helpfulness, of life, of givingness, and of peace. Know that the doorway of opportunity is never closed. Know that experience opens up before you like a blossoming flower. Live in the continuous, joyous anticipation. And to end it, I'm going to have you repeat after me. The Spirit within me is God.
The Spirit within me is God.
The living Spirit Almighty is within me now.
The living Spirit Almighty is within me now.
Say it like you believe it.
Say it
Okay.
again. Say it again.
The living Spirit Almighty is within me now.
The living Spirit Almighty is within me now.
All right. Spirit is the sustaining principle of my life.
Spirit is the sustaining principle of my life.
I open my mind to its influx.
I open my mind to its influx.
I open my consciousness to its inflowing.
I open my consciousness to its inflow.
Then it is done, and so it is.
Then it is done, and so it is.
Amen.
Amen.